get her to check up on a man with a broken leg. Unfortunately for her, the man in question is the man who broke her heart when he left to pursue his photography career 7 years ago. Alejandro has traveled the world photographing beautiful places and people, but his heart has always been in Key West with his high school sweetheart. Now they must both be brave to close the wounds of the past and move forward together. Releases April 27th. Meow. So second in a series. The first series was Island Affair. The series is called Keys to Love. Yes, sorry. The first book was called Island Affair. The series is called Keys to Love. Which is very cute, I think. Yes. We received this book through NetGalley. Yes. So through the publisher. Do you remember who the publisher is? Should I look this up?
No, I do not. But I will definitely do the looking right now.
Excellent. So we are reviewing that for NetGalley. Okay. Let's hit with my first question while you're doing some Google searching. So Ana Maria has a day job and she works with her father and brothers as a firefighter. And then she has a growing side hustle as a personal fitness trainer, nutrition guru, just like all around fitness, social media person. Being a firefighter, I thought was a really cool thing for her to do, but it's also a male-dominated society, and she works with her family. Working with her family is a big storyline in this. Alejandro was essentially ostracized from his family by not choosing to work in the family restaurant. So that's a big theme, just so you're all aware. But anyway, back to Ana Maria as a firefighter, male-dominated professions. What do you think about women who work in male-dominated professions? Pros and cons of being a firefighter? Just like, what are your thoughts?
Okay, well, firstly, I'm going to put on my feminist hat and say that there are jobs and career fields that have been dominated by men, but not because it is a male field. It is simply because no women were allowed to be part of them. So there are no male-dominated fields. They're just fields which need to release their reins on the entrance doors. And so in that way, I think her being a firefighter is wonderful. Firefighters are incredible and should be, put on statues a lot more frequently than they are. But I think making like too big a point, like it's not normalized that she's a firefighter and a woman. And in the book, it is brought up several times that it's like, it's so unusual that it's a woman firefighter. And I really wish that it was
the only woman too.
She is the only woman firefighter. And I just wish that it became more normalized, or that her being the only one was elevated in a more special way. So it felt like it wasn't elevating and allowing the field to be equitable in a way that I wanted it to be. So it was a weird nod for me, because I was like, yes, it's great that she's a firefighter, but could we phrase it in a way where we could all applaud firefighters, and could there be more firefighters representing the entire scope of the community rather than like, here she is, the woman.
Token woman. Yes. And to clarify, male-dominated, I meant that numerically rather than like patriarchal, but like there are physically more men to women ratio in that field. And I completely agree about glass ceilings and open doors and gatekeeping and all that BS. Bullshit is what I mean. Bullshit. I forgot we can curse on this show because it's our show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I get into my question, I feel like maybe the thing that we have not done is a little bit of trigger warning. This book doesn't have a lot of content that, in my opinion, would be triggering, but it still bears bringing up. So for me, the triggers, the apparent triggers were, so this is the second in a series. The first one dealt with eating disorders, and they do bring it up in this one as well, not to such an extensive degree, but so eating disorders are definitely a trigger for this. The other thing that I found triggering was the way that the community of people that choose to use wheelchairs was discussed. And so like it gave me a really uncomfortable vibe in terms of comparing people who use wheelchairs to people who are unable to survive. So in case that is a thing you're not comfortable with, please know that that is not handled well.
There's it's some ableist.
There is some ableism in this, yes, and I wish that there wasn't.
Yes.
And then, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and this is a question I'm gonna bring up later, is, but the overarching trigger for me was the sort of baked in misogyny. And it's told in this story as a cultural, just part of the culture, and it made me really mad, and we'll talk about it later. It was actually kind of triggering for me. So
right. So these are, so heads up, these are our triggers. Obviously they do not have to be your triggers as well. Okay, so here's the first thing I have to say. This so this book does not get in, this is a second chances romance, in case that wasn't clear from the blurb. Ana Maria and Alejandro were high school sweethearts. He left to pursue his photography career. She stayed behind. This is their chance to rekindle their romance, maybe. But it takes them 70% of the book to get physical again. And that to me felt really slow paced, because it is very self-evident early on that they are interested in pursuing a physical relationship with each other, that they had one before. So this isn't a new bridge for them to cross. And there's a conversation about the fact that both of them are have casual sexual partners. Not necessarily at this particular moment, but they neither one of them is holding sex as this revered thing. So do you think, so my question is, how realistic do you feel this was? And do you think his injury, his broken leg, had anything to do with how long it took them to finally hook up? Or like, is my question even clear? I feel like I meandered, and I apologize.
I get it. What you're saying is, why the slow burn?
Yeah, why the slow burn? They already like each other. They already want each other. We already know this.
Yeah, so this is one of those situations. Okay, firstly, ever since you said get physical, Olivia Newton-John has been scrolling through my head on repeat. So you've done this to me. How dare you? To answer your question, and for us robots, what I read into this is there were emotional walls. It wasn't about physical at all. It wasn't about his broken leg, because when they hooked up, he was still in the Kurikov. I forget what whatever the Halo brace was called. Like, he was still wearing it. So that wasn't a thing. Their previous history wasn't a thing. It felt like it was all emotional walls. It was, she wasn't ready to let him in because he was just going to leave again. And he wasn't ready to let her in because he was still butthurt about her not coming with him. So it as a robot, I can compute those in a surface way. But like it could have happened earlier. It could have been faster. The pacing could have been different for me, but I get why it was the way it was. So yeah.
So it just so you know, not that it really matters, but it is called the Ilizarov frame.
Thank you.
It's not a Russian dude.
What did I say, Karamazov?
I mean, also a Russian dude, but yes.
The Ilizarov?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. What does that mean in Russian?
And nothing. I mean, it's someone's last name, but
Okay, all right.
yeah.
It doesn't mean
So
like little bear or, you know.
no, it'd be a stretch, but it could mean of Elizabeth, I guess.
Oh,
But
interesting. That's cool.
not really.
I'm
Yeah.
into that. I'm into the feminist nature of that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so another sort of weirdly triggering thing for me about this book was the lack of privacy and the lack of respect of boundaries between the characters and their family members. And so this is a Latino family. I understand that this is common and part of the culture, but man, it irked me. It irked me hard that nobody respected each other's privacy or boundaries. Maybe it's because my family and I are like, whatever, I'll call you next month. Kind of like we're not tight like that, I guess. Um, so one example is at the end, Alejandro needs to find Ana Maria. So Ana Maria's mother tracks all of her children's phones, and she's just like, "Oh, here, take my phone, see where she is, and go find her." And I'm like, "Bitch, she wants to be alone. If she wanted to be here with you, she would be here with you." It made me so mad. So,
yeah.
there's no question here.
You just needed that off your chest. So what I would
Yes.
have to say to that topic, there's a lot of conversation about what happened to them when they were in high school. And there is a lot of conversation about how that break made them feel. And then 7 years passed. And to me, particularly in these moments where the family was really, really involved in their lives, I kept forgetting how old they were. That they were fully fledged adults and not still high school children.
I thought they were sorry, I thought it had been 10 years. That's what I had in my mind, is that it was 10. But either way, they're still fucking adults.
They're fully fledged adults who can choose to set their own boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because they didn't set new boundaries that were not as invasive as the high school boundaries, that to me didn't set off any warning signs, but I did keep forgetting that they, like, when she introduces when she walks into her house and she talks about buying the house, it was like, whoa, she bought a house. And I was like, wait, she is she is old enough to have purchased a house. Also,
look, it was really impressive to me that she kept plants alive, because I'm an adult and I can't keep plants alive. So
the plants are yes, that part of it is very impressive. But so for me, the the amount of parental supervision and parental meddling, and yeah, maybe because I am not part of a very I am part of a large family and I am part of a close-knit family, but we don't live on top of each other. Like, we don't live all right next to each other. So maybe that meddling would feel more familiar.
Maybe so proximity plays a big part of that.
Yeah, so my 2 cents on all of that is they acted fairly maturely, and so their parents were in their lives, and so that felt appropriate given their level of maturity.
Okay.
Sorry, what was my question? Here's my question. Ana Maria, this is so funny to me that this is my question, considering that I just called them immature and high schoolers. But here's my question. Ana Maria feels like she got stuck when she settled for her life in Key West. And what I kept thinking about, because she's building up a successful new business. Her career as a firefighter and an EMT is one that she's very proud of. Her the fact that she got a degree in nutrition is also something that she's very proud of. So if you measure success versus stuckness, if you will, by those metrics, right? She owns a house, she has plants that haven't died. If you measure her success by that, she's very successful, but she keeps talking about the fact that she feels stuck. So my question doesn't actually have to do necessarily with the characters in our book, but it made me really think about how we measure being happily settled into a comfortable routine versus being stuck. Like, what is your barometer for this is the same thing that I've been doing over and over again, but it is the thing that I want to continue doing versus I have just been doing this one thing over and over again.
Yeah. So, and I think the character of Anna Maria brings this up a lot in the book. She talks about how for the majority of the years that Alejandro had been gone, she was just going through the motions. And only in the last couple of years had she started to focus on her fitness company and building that up, and how she was finally feeling momentum from that, and sort of I read into like pulling herself out of a depression about it and finally getting her life on track solo. So for me, I think the difference lies in joy. Like if you're still happy to get up every day and do the same thing every day, then it's achievement. And if it feels like labor, if it feels like work, and sometimes it does, but overall, in general, the average is joyous and not laborious, then yeah, that labor feels stuck to me, joy feels accomplishment to me. That's how I'd break it up. What about you?
I have a hard time sitting still, and I am in constant wanderlust, which is very difficult to live through when you're not allowed to leave your house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so for me, being stuck is not having a new adventure on the horizon. And I think the difference for me between being stuck and being happily routined is the people that I plan my adventures with. Like if I have a new adventure, and that adventure could be all, my entire family can go to the grocery store with me for the first time in a year, which hasn't happened yet, but that's a thing we used to do, and we had a great time buying random snacks together. And that was an adventure. It was a small adventure, but it was an adventure nonetheless. So having new adventures, and that could be emotional growth or educational growth or gardening or failing at gardening, just a new thing to explore, big or small. That does not make me feel stuck at all. But repeating sort of repetitive injury from like being the same and doing the same constantly, that feels stuck. Right. Case in point, my blue hair and all the other things that change about me on a regular day, right? They're new adventures. So
yeah. That made me think about, a very long time ago, somebody asked, why do you like to do theater? And my answer was, and still is, I'm going to work on the same thing for 3 months, and then I'm on to something new. And halfway through those 3 months, the whole thing essentially changes. You go from rehearsals to show, and you have like a week of show, and then you have 2 more weeks of like you're not in it long enough for it to become rote.
Right.
So there's always a closing date. You always have a curtain. So, I think I resemble that a little bit as well. I like having variability from day to day, or at least week to week or month to month. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a way to find new adventures if you have a job that is repetitive in its timing. But yeah, new adventures are my jam. And so when I notice that I have not had new adventures, that's when it feels like stuckness and a need for new inventions. So
sure. Do you have do you notice you do something and then you're like, it's because I need an adventure?
Yes, the number of hours laying on the couch not doing anything. So I don't typically not do I will sit on the couch and read and craft and draw. Like there will be a project in my hand. This sounds so preposterous, and I apologize in advance. I sound like such a bougie person. I'm sorry.
Welcome to the bourgeoisie, because I'm there with you right now. I never just sit still.
Right. And so if I sit still, like if I am just a couch potato for more, like a day or two is fine. Sometimes my brain needs a reset. But if I am unmotivated to stop being a potato, that's the stuckness.
Interesting. Cool. Fantastic. I find it when things that I already know I have a really higher tolerance for start to irritate me. I'm like, oh, I need a change. Cool. So
That makes
awesome.
sense.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
next two questions are
Yes.
both a little fiery, and I'm wondering which one should be the one right before the break. Let's go with
Probably
yours first.
yours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'll
let's
go
do yours
first because
first.
mine's all right. Sit down,
Yours is
buckle
salty.
up. Let's talk about misogyny, shall we? And implicit misogyny. Because anytime a man jokes to a woman about her being a nag or nagging him, makes me want to double combo fist punch him in the face and kick him in the balls. Because that is the words behind quit nagging me or you're such a nag are leave me the fuck alone, I'm better than you. I don't need you to control me, you're not my equal. And that makes me murderous. I'm just and the moment in this book is very short and it's supposed to be joking and brief, but it filled me with so much fiery rage. So, I don't have a question. I just needed to get this off my chest. Uh misogyny. Talk to me about it.
I mean, again, there will be people that will say that this isn't necessarily, that this book is actually very woman forward and it's great in that way, and that all of
I think
these
it is, but there are these little moments that pull me out.
Yes, and I think the same
Sorry
is
to
true for
interrupt.
me. No, you're fine. And I think that yeah, those moments pulled me out as well. There were opportunities for again for the men and the women in the family to hold equal power, and they didn't. And it was just part of the like the cultural snapshot that we were getting. And though that might be right, I am not Cuban, and so I can't speak to that. I do have Cuban in-laws, and so I have seen this firsthand. And so it might feel really familiar to some people, to people whose culture this is a snapshot of. But there is, for me, books are aspirational, right? So it would be really great if in the book version of these people, yes, they are relatable, but they are also elevated. And then as people read this, they elevate themselves to this aspiration. Yes. That is my hope. Right. And there were a lot of instances in this book where that was the case. There's a high level of concentration on art as a valid career, on food service as a valid career. And so all of those are like on people helping each other as an important part of the community. So all of that was wonderful.
The emotional labor of mothers and parents. Yeah.
All of that was wonderful. So it's just these other moments that I wish were as elevated as this is.
Yeah. So
okay, so
like it's
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
so
I didn't have.
I was gonna move on. Okay,
yeah,
so
let's do it.
My move on was gonna be for Alejandro. Ana Maria is the only woman there will ever be. He even maybe thinks that, or definitely says that at some point. So he's gone off and he's married someone else, and he had all of these adventures, and yet his heart was stuck with her. Is that a thing that you believe in? That there is only the one tether?
I mean, we've had a little bit of talk about soulmates and one true loves, and I definitely have found comfort in there's 1,000 true loves per person, just statistically, and that timing and the person you are counts into that moment working, and the other person and yourself growing at the same or compatible rates. So I think there's a lot of math. No, that goes into that. So it's whatever, like, this is a book and this is a story, so if that's great for the character, that's fine for the character. It feels like perhaps a little unhealthy, but it was also hella romantical, so what can I say?
Okay, great. I think we are gonna take a break at It's Hella Romantical, because that is a good place to take a break. We will be back
See you
in
later.
a few minutes.
Okay, we're gonna take an intermission right here. When we come back, we're gonna break down our favorite moment from the book.
And discuss our ratings and if this book made us want to get naked.
Please enjoy this message from one of our friends in the podcasting world. Hi, we're back.
And we're back. Excellent. Sorry, there's a noise happening in my life outside of this, and I'm trying really hard to ignore it.
Your recording bubble has been pierced.
Yes, and it's a little bit disorienting, so I apologize for constantly umming to try to ignore it completely. All right.
Okay, well, we're talking about Anchored Hearts by Priscilla Oliveras, which is book 2 in the Keys to Love series, and it comes out April 27th.
Yes, it does. Let's talk a little bit about compelling moments, because I did find quite a few of those in this book, and so I'd love to hear yours.
So, my grandmother, who I'm was extremely close to, she passed away a few years ago, was a photographer. An artist of other kinds. She painted and all that, but I knew her exclusively as a photographer. So the fact that Alejandro is a photographer just like made me like him just that bit more, because it was relatable to me. And my phone is ringing. Oh my god, go away. Oh god, that was so loud in my ears. Did you hear that?
No, just you.
Just me. Oh no, now I can't hear you. This is going excellently. Why can't I hear you? There you are, you're back.
Okay, I'm glad. So we've just had 3 technical things all happen at the same time. We're doing really well here, you guys.
Oh man, I mean, after how many episodes have we done? This is kind of the first major technical meltdown ever. I love that how having my phone on Do Not Disturb and focus mode means it still rings. That's really delightful, and something else for me to get ragey about later. Okay, so photography. I thought Priscilla Oliveras did a great job describing Alejandro's photographs to us. Like the way he captured light, and the joy that people had seeing his photographs. There's a scene where his niece Lolo, one of those, she is looking through his photographs from like a safari, so all these wild animals, and she's just so filled with glee and joy, and using her toddler talk to talk about the Lillivants, and it's just adorable. So, and the climax of the book happens at a show that he puts together in the Keys, where his family can come, and just their general awe at the photographs. And that was, I think, maybe my favorite part, is how she handled describing photographs. I was like, I can picture this photograph. I know what this photograph looks like. So I related to that a lot.
Yeah, in my head, she was also Lulu, by the way, in case that isn't how you say it. Lulu was what I said when I read it. So for me, the revelation of the photographs about his Cuban heritage, so the photographs that he goes to Cuba in secret, takes photographs of the original restaurant that his
he doesn't go to Cuba in secret. He's there working. Cuba invited him. He did not sneak into
I'm so sorry. That part is true. Yes. He does not tell anyone that while in Cuba, he goes off on his own and finds the original site of the restaurant that his family owned back in Cuba. And then there's also a lot of conversation about the Peter Pan project or the Peter Pedro project. So if like you never heard of that, it's a really excellent way of describing what that all meant and the sacrifices that the Cuban grandparents and parents made for their children to be able to enter the US when it was happening. But the revelation of those photos to his family and to his grandfather, to his father in particular, like that scene is really excellent. It's really well done. It's emotionally very available for Cuban men who, are portrayed as these really stoic, I said stoic, really weird, stoic people. And when emotion clogs my brain, I can't talk properly. And the way
when allergies clog your nose,
also difficult to talk with that. Yes. So that was really great. The other thing I have to bring up as a favorite in the book, there's a third act addition to the cast, if you will, if we put it in theatrical terms. Her name is Natalie, and she helps him design the exhibition at the gallery. And she is a fantastic character. And if there's a third book, and that book is not about her and Ana Maria's younger brother, Enrique, I don't know what the third book would be about. But Natalie Enrique book is a must. She was fantastic. I want to know everything about her. So
I could perfectly imagine her like bleach white blouse tucked into some wide leg trousers. And her like, I just dig it. I'm here for it. Yeah.
Yes. So
absolutely.
Hot take on this book with all the bits and pieces we saw and didn't see in it. Yay? Nay? Yeah. Do you recommend?
It's fine. It's fine. I wonder, so I haven't read Island Affair. I wonder if that has played into all of my opinions so far. But it was fine. It's a 3-star book for me. It was a mostly good read. It made me feel things. And I read somewhere recently that having strong opinions, even if it's hate about a book, is better than having lukewarm whatever opinions. So, yeah.
There you go. For me, it felt very familial and comforting, and it definitely gave me a really good sense of place. Like I absolutely felt myself in Key West. So in case you're looking to escape to Key West, particularly if you've been there before, this totally has the vibe. I wish it had a better language, a better conversation about what it means to use a wheelchair and how that does not make Alejandro less of a man, because that definitely was implied, and that is definitely not okay. I wish that the ableist language was toned down, but that is my biggest, like, please don't in that particular way. All right. Most important for us, I feel like, because our book reviews are called naked book reviews. Does this book make you want to get naked?
No, thank you. You only get to see the foreplay, and frankly, foreplay's great, but I needed it dirtier. I needed more. It just doesn't do it for me. So no, I did not get naked.
Same. Second base is like early, third base maybe is where you get to. Here there's a lot of conversation about yoga pants and how to get in and out of them, because she is a personal trainer. So there's a lot of yoga pants situations. I needed a diagram on how they figured out how to have sex while his leg is in this anti-gravity contraption.
Okay, here's the thing, because it wasn't clear to me that at the end, it wasn't clear to me until the end that the contraption is just below the knee. It's not his whole leg. So he can just like bend his leg and she can still straddle him.
I mean, yeah, but so it's intended to, it's sort of like the shock mount on your microphone. It's intended to keep your bone in place. So like any vibration jostles your actual bone because the rods go all the way through. Sorry, gruesome, weird fact, I know. Jostles your bone? Is that what you're...
Rods all the way through.
Excellent. Well, they apparently enjoyed it. We think the doors were closed. So it gave me blue balls because it would like ramp up and then immediately start a new scene. So it wasn't even like fade to black. It was just closed doors, and so that did not make me
cutscene.
It was a cutscene. Yeah. But
for sure,
I agree with you that it made me feel things and see things with my mind. And so if you're looking for an escape, great escape. I will absolutely look for book 3, if only to find out whether or not it's about Natalie and Enrique. And if it is, then I'm absolutely reading it. So that's my 2 cents on that.
For sure. Agreed. I liked her. She was sassy.
Yes, she very much was.
Or like, she like knew how to do her job. Let's just do the job. I'm going to make you a lot of money. We're going to make it. Yes, I'm here for it.
I also really enjoyed that there was a female character, that there was a woman introduced into this that was not sexualized for the purposes of our main character, who did not exist as a tease. Like she happened to be a woman, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she couldn't be his friend. And platonic friendships between men and women in romantic comedies or romance novels are infrequent, to say the least. So I'm always excited when they are just friends, and they're not friends who used to do it. They're just friends who are friends, who've never been in each other's pants.
That's an amazing segue to the book I'm reading right now. Do you want to hear
about it? Yes, please. Yeah.
So I'm reading Falling in Luck by Marianne Marlowe. This book comes out May the 4th be with you. And it is kind of a loose love triangle in that she is best friends. She being Mallory is best friends with Benji, and yet she has a huge crush on her French boss. And so it's definitely love triangle, but they're best friends and they've never crossed the best friend boundary. And I think she's a little oblivious to his feelings for her. So this is not quite what you're talking about. It's in fact the opposite of what you're talking about, but it was tangential into.
There's a best friend situation. I'm a big proponent of, you can be platonically in a relationship with people regardless of whether or not you're attracted to other people of that gender. So I'm always excited when there's just genuine connections between people, platonic genuine connections between people, in addition to a romantic relationship. So regardless of how that turns out, I'm excited to hear where that book goes.
Absolutely. What are you reading next?
I am in the middle.
Let me put you on the spot.
Yeah, I am in the middle of a book called The Dating Dare. It is a second in a series, and it's set in a small town in NorCal. So there's a lot of talk about beer. She is a beer brewer and works in a brewery.
Cool.
So there's a lot of talk about beer and wine and food. There's also it's a romance, so there's also that. They are both Korean, the main characters, and so there's another like meddling family situation in the Korean community, and so it's delicious. This book is delicious. There's been so much good food. I want all the food.
I need a giant Bavarian pretzel right now. How dare you?
Sorry.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just wrap up on the fact that now I'm hungry.
Perfect.
And that's just rude.
Excellent. Well, in that case, go get a pretzel.
Okay. Till next time.
Till next time.
So are you, dear audience human, gonna pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, and on Twitter at skyfordl. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. That's it for this episode. We will see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore. And we're out.